I know. If you want to get more hits and views and subscribers on YouTube, you got to keep your video short. I know. And I thought I was going to do that with this one. It's going to be a 2 or 3 little minute video about a black museum down, I think, in St. Louis that was burglarized for like the 5th time by a bunch of black people. Might put them out of business. You know, a little bit of irony there. But then the story started to go in all these different directions, and it wasn't 2 minutes long anymore. So stick with me on this one.
First on Fox, the St. Louis History Museum has turned into a furnace after thieves ripped off the building's air conditioners.
And that could ruin some of the museum's displays. Fox 2's Rocky Madden is there live, and the heat is still on tonight. Rocky?
Oh boy, is it, Rafer. We're here in Creve Coeur, and as you can see from this bank sign here, still kind of warm tonight, 89 degrees, but in North City, thanks to criminals, the Griot Museum of Black History is extremely hot.
Makes me mad, makes me sad, makes me sorry, makes me regretful that we're still treating each other this way.
Lois Connolly founded the Griot Museum of Black History 20 years ago, and now for the 5th time in 4 years, thieves have ripped off 2 of the museum's air conditioners, apparently for the copper, and they left a 3rd air conditioner broken.
The stories we tell here are important parts of our collective history.
Fans are operating everywhere inside the building. The museum includes several wax figures. It was 91 degrees early Wednesday evening inside. The figures are not going to melt, but the heat is not good for them or other historic items on display. They do have insurance, but first they have to pay a $2,500 deductible. That's a lot of cash for the not-for-profit museum.
One year that it happened, I didn't even report it to the insurance for fear they would either cancel or raise the premium so high we wouldn't be able to afford it. And I'm concerned about that even now.
Connolly has poured her heart and soul into the place, and she wishes thieves would quit targeting the museum.
You know, we're already struggling, and this just creates another set of struggles for us to deal with.
Even the curator of this black museum did not have the acting chops to try to pretend with a straight face that the people who have been robbing her black museum in a black neighborhood is anybody else but black people. Well, the whole black museum thing, there's a lot more to it than I kind of thought. I had a little bit of experience with black museums here in the metropolitan area of Wilmington. Some big bank left a little piece of property in a house to the city, said, "We want you to put a black museum there." So all these, ministers and activists got together and they said, "Great, let's have our museum. When can we have our museum?" And the city said, "Yeah, well, to run a museum, it's going to cut." They just gave us the property. They didn't give us the money to run it, to staff it, to get the exhibits, the whole thing. So everybody was expecting the city of Wilmington, 70,000 strong, to kick in $500, $1 million, $2 million a year to run the thing. That didn't happen. But one of the things I heard during that discussion was that black museums all over the country are failing. And they are.
To open the museum. To open the museum.
We should be able to obtain federal dollars, state dollars, county dollars, city dollars, and also endowments to help with this museum. This should be an insult to the community, and it should be an insult to our race and all others. This history is American history. This is not African American history. This is American global world history. And we demand that our institution be reopened. With this, we would say thank you, and please help and support.
All right. Hey!
Thomas Black History Museum and Archives may be forced to close its doors for lack of money. News 3's Ashley Lewis is digging deeper to find out why museum supporters say black history should be preserved and what can be done to help keep the museums like this afloat.
If our city is saying that, yes, this is what we want, we don't want you to have access to your history. Because there's no city funding, there's no state funding, no federal funding. Even though it's been requested, there's no city, state, or federal funding coming in.
Lakeisha Stringer, a volunteer, says she can't believe the museum hasn't received any outside funding. Dave Gillarm, the museum director, says rent is $700 a month, so they must meet a quota of memberships to keep their doors open.
We have to have a minimum of 3 business memberships per month or 20 individual memberships, and those numbers are pretty high. So it kind of becomes impossible.
Gillarm believes that it's crucial for African American millennials to know their history.
They think that since they came from nothing, they're destined to not be anything in their life. Well, when I show them the book like the Black City Directory, and they can see hundreds of black-owned businesses.
Stringer says she's a naval veteran, and even after traveling around the world, she's never seen artifacts like the ones at the museum.
A lot of our items are one of a kind, and it is important for people to come here, otherwise they won't know.
This is a Masonic state proceeding book from 1870, which shows Horace King second in charge of a lodge in Columbus. And this is an actual roster from a lodge in 1871. King, a former slave, built several bridges over the Chattahoochee. If the doors do close, the museum will be forced to put all their items in storage, which Gillarm says could potentially damage timeless artifacts.
First of all, they're built with almost, the one that I've looked at, almost all of them are built with local, state, and federal money. A lot of times the anti-poverty money, the block grant money, there's lots of other different kinds of money. Ends up in a black museum. Pretty soon the local enthusiasm dims and the museum goes out of business, or they put their cup out for some coins in it, and people say, why do we want to donate to a museum whose only theme is black victimization, white racism, victimization, racism, victimization, racism? And that gets old after a while. One thing all of these museums have in common, of course, is they completely ignore, deny, condone, excuse, encourage, explain, and even lie about the level of criminality and black and white violence in this country. Maybe someday we'll have a museum dedicated to the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of victims of that.
An 82-year-old woman is the victim of an assault and carjacking in a parking lot, and tonight police need your help to find the person responsible.
Eyewitness News reporter Joe Holden joins us now in Hainesport, Burlington County with more details on the search for a suspect. Joe?
Yuki, Jessica, good evening. This is a startling crime according to New Jersey State Police. In fact, so startling, they took to Facebook and they essentially wrote that, of course, you can replace a car, but you cannot begin to address the fear that was placed into this 82-year-old grandmother. A grandmother carjacked. New Jersey State Police say this guy slapped an 82-year-old woman across the face and then forced her out of a car and took off in it. This happened Saturday, June 11th. It was 9:30 at night. The elderly woman was waiting in the car with the keys while her daughter was shopping inside this Hainesport supermarket.
It was a physical removal from the vehicle.
Is she okay?
Yes, she was okay. She denied medical assistance at the time.
State police say the woman's daughter returned to find her mother standing outside the car, now long gone. Investigators say it's unlikely the thief had a weapon. Still, the entire ordeal was unsettling for the 82-year-old woman.
Considering the age of the victim, that I think people would agree that it's a little more heinous.
Well, and state police have provided a description of that suspected carjacker. He is described to be a black man standing 5 feet 8 inches tall, 170 pounds. They say he had long braided hair and was wearing a white Phillies baseball jersey, white pants, and red shoes.
But when we bring up this kind of violence, like this black guy out in the Queens, Rockaway Avenue subway station, going up and punching some young 16-year-old white girl in the face, everybody shrugs their shoulders and say, Colin, that's just a coincidence, even though black on white violence is wildly out of proportion. That's just a coincidence. And besides, white people deserve it, and white people do it too.
6:02 now, breaking right now. The search for a young woman missing more than 48 hours now and reportedly last seen with someone she knows. Investigators say Caitlin Hebert was last seen in the area of Shelby Oaks Drive. Jerica Phillips is live with what some say happened just moments before she went missing. Jerica?
But Kim, it seems an unfortunate situation because this woman appeared to be desperate to get out of the situation that she was in. This incident sounds more like a kidnapping, but for now, Memphis police and their City Watch, they are titling this or labeling her, classifying Hebert as an endangered person. So witnesses say Hebert was last seen 2 days ago around 10 o'clock in the evening being forced into a maroon-colored Ford Expedition that belonged to her boyfriend, Marvin Housley. Apparently, she did not go willingly. The incident happened, as you mentioned, in the 5800 block of Shelby Oaks Drive over off of Summer Avenue and Sycamore View, which is not a residential area, more so hotels in that area. Her boyfriend, who police believe she is with, was just arrested last week and bonded out at around $75,000. We were able to pull up that police report from June 16th, where police accuse him of forcing Hebert to perform sex acts behind a hotel in the same area where she was last seen. Now, according to police, Housley has been forced to prostitute for money and then give that money to her boyfriend or alleged pimp since October 2015. He is described as a black man, 27 years old, around 5'8" and 140 pounds.
Surprise move today. A Doraville teenager admitted her part in the death of a Sandy Springs man and agreed to serve 40 years in prison. Danny Zeitz was killed during the robbery of his video game console.
One thing I do appreciate these museums for is they're constantly reminding us of two things. One, the black people are relentless victims of relentless white racism all the time, everywhere. That explains everything. And that two, this point of view is absolutely mainstream, not just among a vast majority of black people in this country, but at book publishers, TV stations, newsrooms, public radio stations, and lots of people running for office in this country. Maybe they should just get a flag or a banner and run around town with that. Of course, you know what it would say. Just don't make the black kids angry.